Yeah, so welcome everybody, and over to you, Kachi Okezie,
Thank you
from
very much.
City
Thank
Planning.
you. Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome one, welcome all. Um, it's a great pleasure to be with you here today. The series is now, I think it's been running now for about two years, going on three, like that. So this is really good. It's a community of learning, so to speak. And it's good to be part of that journey. My name is Kachi Okezie. I'm a lawyer by training. I come from Nigeria. I I practiced after my call to the bar in 1987. I was in private practice for about 4 years. I later moved to the United Kingdom. And
Kachi, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're not sounding very clear. I don't know if you can speak a bit more into your microphone. Yeah,
yes. Can you hear me now? Is it okay now?
that's much better. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, I'm a lawyer by training. I was called to the bar in Nigeria in 1987. Practiced. I was in private practice. Then I moved to the UK in 1990. I went for further studies. Did a diploma, postgraduate diploma in journalism, and then later on a postgraduate, an MBA at the University of Wales. And it was actually while I was pursuing my postgraduate studies in Wales, I was exposed to community development as a structured area of learning and practice. There used to be what was called the Federation of Community Development Learning in those days, which I think eventually fed into IACD. It used to be based in Sheffield. And so that exposed me to a lot of community-based experiences, work. And so I had that kind of introduction, so to speak. I then joined IACD, I think it was 2005, probably a bit earlier. I followed for some time. And so it's been a journey of sharing, learning, and experiences, from one another. So many practitioners on board, professionals and everything. So here today, what we're looking at is how community leadership plays a vital role in building stronger communities. So leadership has been identified and isolated as one of the key levers in building stronger communities. Next slide, please. That's just a little, while I was doing my research, I found that one of the conferences, the International Association for Community Development Conference, I think that's the one in Cameroon, living about 2006 or 7 or so. That was the one in Hong Kong as well. It just reminded me of how far back we go, with IACD. Very good, very good. It's good to see the progress that's been made since that time as well, particularly in terms of internationalizing the practice of community development. Our aim today is to, through this knowledge sharing session, to share ideas that can help in empowering, practitioners at different levels in terms of community leadership to gain knowledge and identify some of the key competencies that leaders ought to have. I like to use effective leadership rather than good leadership or bad leadership, because these are a kind of subjective nuances in it. Our objectives are to describe a community leader. And I normally prefer that you do that in your own words. We all have the theoretical perspectives, but it's important that individuals have their own characterizations as well. So who is a community leader? What are the different skills and styles or types of leadership that are there? What are the key skills and competencies that a leader needs to have in order to be effective in that role? And so at the end of that, we sort of, through the Q&A, do a review in terms of reflective practice. I always do reflective practice in everything I do, particularly in adult learning. Next slide, please. Right, by way of a quick introduction, people have different views, but this is just a kind of summation that community leadership is a critical component of social development. In other words, it's part of how society develops. Who steers that process? Who steps forward in times of need? Who speaks on behalf of others? Who advocates for the needs of communities? And who envisions a better future, for communities, which will then drive change? And who influences that change to happen? These are some of the mind pictures and images that you have when you're looking at community leadership. So it's a critical component of community social development, civic engagement, and mobilization as well. So we're going to go through just about 7 or so key skills, really key. I mean, you can have up to 15, 20, as many as you like, but we just had to distill it to the most important ones. And I used social AI tools to come to that conclusion, to select 7, which they thought were the most critical and most important. Next slide, please. I think it's always good to clarify terms, concepts in these kind of conversations. First of all, we look at community. What does it mean? You have community in a concrete sense, which refers typically to a geographical and identifiable place, a physical place. So that is that community. The community in Glasgow, in northwest of Glasgow, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Nairobi. Those are communities. But also you have community in the abstract sense, where you have community by identity, people who identify as some of the examples that I've given there. And that's based on either shared experience, culture, belief, origins. It could be anything. It could be work. It could be trade, out there. It could be, arts and crafts and all of that. And so that is community by identity. And you have some examples there. Christian, Muslim community. We speak in terms of the Black community, the white community, the traveler community, Asian community, and all of it in that sense. And then you have community also in the abstract sense, but in terms of interest and activity. This could be vocational, this could be leisure, and you have like, I've given some examples there, train spotting, bird watching is another very interesting one, boating, golfing, and you can have a lot of examples of your own as well. Nowadays, I've added this. When I was thinking about this, it occurred to me that we easily reference social media communities. And this is like the new normal now. And it needs to be looked into as well as part of the abstract group of communities. So social media, virtual communities. What we're doing here now, this is a little community. And even if you go further, this is even drilled down into, I think I've seen IACD Nigeria and IACD and others. Those are communities, as long as it's got that test of shared interest, mutual goals, shared objectives, and that commitment to mutuality and coming together. I think those are the key characteristics that led through all of that. Next slide, please. Then we talk about the community leadership as a process. Leadership generally, it'll take us a week to do a session on that. The different types, the different roles in leadership, but we also know that the single most important thing in leadership as a process is about how influence drives change, how you communicate a vision. The leader sets out to get people to move in a particular direction, which they have all subscribed to, willingly, usually. And so the process of influencing people, guiding them, some say leading from the front, some say leading from within, some say you've heard about things like management by walkabout and all of that. Those are all concepts that point to how an individual is, able to mobilize, to influence, to encourage, to enable people to move in a predetermined direction and do so willingly. And so there are so many definitions that we can look at in the literature available. So influencing or guiding community members towards a common vision, and it's important that there is that common shared vision, because that in itself is what gives validity and what sort of enables that move to be measured in terms of its efficacy or success. So shared goals, a common vision, and shared responsibility in terms of the roles, specific roles that individuals play. I've always believed that when people say, for example, it's a very common debate going on in Nigeria now that the leadership is the problem. Africa, leadership is the problem. Now, Europe, leadership is the problem. No, there's another view to that. That's the followership has a role to play, because the followership validates the leadership. The leadership comes from the followership as well. So very important for communities to understand that. And those who advise or support communities need to understand those dynamics. Next slide, please. This is a little sort of play on the talk about the importance of community leadership to strengthen social cohesion and trust, to ensure that actions, communication, activities are designed in a way that supports the strengthening, that promotes social cohesion and build trust within a community. It's the leader's responsibility to ensure that that happens. And as some people say, quite rightly too, that begins with the leader, leading by example. Okay? That trust is something that comes from the leader's own example. Enhancing collective problem-solving capacity. So you ask yourself that in this leadership situation, are the activities in question, the events going on, the communication processes, do they contribute to enhancing collective problem solving? Do they promote collective ownership of problems and issues and challenges within the community? Or do they privatize problems and solutions? Do they assign them to an individual, and then how you overload people? Anybody who's had a real good experience at the coalface of community development, you know how difficult it can get when events begin to move in the direction of maybe one person or two people out of the group begin to bear more burdens, carry more load than the rest. That needs to be dissipated. That needs to be spread out within the group so that the capacity to envisage a better future, to envisage change, and to drive towards solutions is a shared one rather than something that is left to a couple of individuals. So that is a very important role that the leader needs to play to ensure that that happens. Encouraging civic participation and empowerment. It's about, I had an example in those days in Wales when the National Assembly was first set up. Part of the problem was a perception problem, a strong perception problem. It came on the back, this is in the UK now, when they had devolution. After the devolution, I remember I was at university and we had this debate. The dust had not fully settled on that. So there were still rancorous feelings about that. People came from very, very strong positions And so it was important to encourage people through your messaging, through your posturing, through your positioning, your body language, the institutional body language I'm talking about now, to begin to come back into the new reality because it's here, So that is a very key skill that a leader needs to be armed with in this kind of situation. How not to be the source of division in a community, rather to be a rallying point that pulls people together, that encourages people to feel the need to participate. Then you have the support element there, supporting sustainable community development, whether it's by pointing the way or by shaping the route to the way, to the outcome, or by energizing those who need extra motivation because that happens. So a leader needs to have ample energy and ability to sort of motivate people who are or who don't see themselves as really ready. A lot of people have that. You find that in communities. They're not disinterested, but they just need the extra push. And so you don't assume. Let me give an example to illustrate that. We had a group where we had meetings organized, and there was a particular part of that community in South Wales. And there was a presumption based on the history. Oh, they're too laid back, they don't care, they're not usually interested. This is usually. But there was a change. The government had introduced a program called Communities First. And the whole idea was to radicalize community development in Wales, to move everybody to active citizenship and to begin to see things that way. But when we started, I was one of the first people recruited to help with that process. When we started our consultations, I had these attitudes in the group. Don't worry about them. They don't usually take part in anything. They have, And I'm thinking, why would they suffer from your sort of prejudices about them? That community doesn't participate. Do things differently. Find out why they don't participate. Find out what you could do differently that will attract them. And that eventually solve the problem for us. So it's important to understand the role of the leader in the community as being someone who supports active, sustainable community development and participation. Next slide, please. Right. Now we go to the skills. The skills we identified, there were, I think there are about 7 of them. And the first one is effective communication. Now, like I said, I used 2 AI models, AI tools to rank these and so the sequence you see here is what they gave me. The values are not attached. But this is the sequence in which, because I asked them to rank skills that are needed for effective community development in the order of priority, and 3 different models came up with this. So it's clear from this that effective communication tops the bill. It enables leaders to articulate ideas clearly, listen actively, and manage conflict. But then, what is effective communication? When is communication said to be effective? I think it's said to be effective when it closes the communication loop. In other words, it sends a message that's understood. And then there's a reaction and a response to that message, which leads to a change in action or the change in situation. So it's like a call to action at the end of the message. So it's being able to use your communication skills as a leader to get people to move from point A to point B on their development trajectory. And typically, a leader who comes with a vision, whether of his own or his understanding or her understanding of where the community would or should be in the future, can then find themselves faced with how to send that message across. So whether by sort of rational communication, or by just communication in terms of body language and how you get people to move. The important thing is that your messaging, directly or indirectly, propels people forward, gets people to take action. That's when we say that communication is effective. And there are many reasons. We can go, I mean, so many reasons why communication may not be effective. There are barriers to communication, but that's not really our remit in the 45 minutes or 30 minutes that we have. The second one is collaboration and teamwork. This is also ranked as extremely important because it's seen that the job is not for just one person. It's a recognition that you need to pull together the various giftings, the diversity of skills and talents available in the community. But the real skill of the leader, the real gifting of a visionary leader is to be able to identify where those skills lie within the community. And a lot of communities have those innate skills, some of them undiscovered, untapped, latent, and it's having the ability. I think that's what Janine's IACD model does, having the ability to discover what is within that community in terms of the assets and the skills and the experiences that the community can use, as part of its capital for development. So collaboration involves pulling people together, bringing those skills together through partnerships that enable action towards change to happen. Next slide, please. The third one is empathy and inclusiveness. Now, this is sort of two distinct skills taken together. First of all, empathy enables the leader to understand or to see things from other people's point of view, to understand diverse perspectives, especially when addressing inequalities, imbalances, which may have been historical, which may be as well. Now, in the example that I gave earlier, what that does is it challenges the leader not to assume that the world is as it appears, but always to question whether the world could be different or better than it appears. I think that is the critical mental mindset that a leader ought to have when dealing with a community. You need to be able to enable the diverse range of perspectives and points of view to be incorporated in planning, to be incorporated in deploying activities and resources. There was an example of this that I thought worth sharing. We had a consultation activity. I don't know if you remember, the London Stock Exchange wanted to expand its awareness, raise its awareness among certain communities, and they engaged some consultants. I was one of them, to help them find out when to, how to do that, to raise awareness of the London Stock Exchange in some groups in the UK that were found to have, they had money, they were doing very well, commercial activities, trading, and all of that, but they were never represented in the data profile of the London Stock Exchange. And so what we did was to go visit them in their community groups, in churches, in mosques, and speak about these things, and had coffee mornings and all of that. That enabled them to share views, some of which were quite eye-opening for the strategists in London. And so those are some of the report we got back was that it was extremely beneficial for them in terms of planning their future engagements. Problem solving is the next one. Problem solving and decision making. Now, especially these days with AI available, technology, so many different tools available to us. And what these tools have now done is make the task of problem solving more scientific, if you like. Now you can easily use data to analyze, to diagnose your issues, your problems in the community. And a lot of this is available very cheaply, some of them for free. And so you are able to, you now have tools which enable you to identify issues in the community, analyze them, formulate solutions, formulate strategies, and make informed, data-driven, justifiable decisions about actions to take. So I think this increases accountability in leadership so that the community is now able to see, not just to be told what is being done on their behalf. This time, with these tools available, it then makes participation more meaningful. And communities and community members can now easily, on their own, sort of engage with planning, engage with proposals, engage with neighborhood development, and be a part of that process. You have a lot of neighborhood consultations from maybe local authorities and all of that. So this enables increased participation, and overall, I think, makes for a better outcome in terms of community development. Next slide, please. And the next one, number 5, is vision and motivation taken together. One of the key things that sets a leader apart is the ability to envision a better future or a different future to the one they are, involved in. For example, for the community. And what does that entail? I think that is about looking at what's possible and having a reason to believe that, first of all, better is achievable. Better is possible. And so that ability to see beyond the here and now, see deeper and further in the horizon, is a very important competence that a leader needs to have across all spheres. When the vision is clear, it's easy to work towards it. When it's blurred, conversely, of course, it's difficult to communicate it to people. So there has to be clarity of that vision, first of all, to the leader. And so once that is established, once there's clarity, the next thing to do is to ensure that that vision is communicated holistically, effectively, across all spheres of the community, at all levels. And so the communication approaches, the strategies for engagement will obviously vary. And so for some people, they would have been on board from the get-go. In some sections of that community as well, you will find those who are neither here nor there, sort of in between. And then you will find those who are downright in opposition against that. That is the challenge for a leader. How do you motivate or inspire those who are somewhat lethargic, doubtful about the vision that you share? How do you get them to buy into the vision? As for those who are on board, how do you continually sustain their passion, their commitment to the vision? How do you justify or get them to justify the vision that they too are selling to their colleagues and their contemporaries. Those are some of the challenges that a leader faces, particularly in a community setting. So vision, motivation, extremely important to a leader who wants to be successful. So it's been observed, it's been noted here that transformational leadership, particularly leadership that is designed and inspired for change, emphasizes vision, because that is where the journey should start. What is change about, if not a clear vision? That's why they say that strategy sees the future. Strategy is about beyond the here and now, and also, long-term thinking, as some people say. So there's an example there, environmental sustainability initiatives led by community leaders. Why are they doing it? They're doing it because they're I mean, these days it's easier for some of us now in this generation because we have benefit of already articulated visionary positions and outcomes. Something like the Sustainable Development Goals. You now have the SDGs and the 17 goals. The SDGs make it easier now to align your strategies. So you now have a reference point. Okay. So it now becomes a question of, yes, that's the vision. It's been written down. It's been articulated. The challenge now is how do we align our thinking, our walking, our talking, and our actions towards that vision. So that is then designed to inform our strategies so that everything points in that direction. So we have benefit of that kind of setting in contemporary leadership now. And the sixth one is ethical leadership and the issue of integrity. We all see what's happening in the media across the world now, where leaders seem to have an epidemic of integrity challenges. But there you go. Ethical leadership and integrity. The ability to be who you say you are, do as I do, not just as I say, lead by example, be honest, respect yourself, respect the community, respect others, respect systems and institutions. So all of that is there. So ethical leadership emphasizes transparency, fairness, accountability, and these are the things that build trust. And so a leader who is unethical is like a parent. Children, as we all agree, I think, learn a lot from the actions of their parents or the adults around them, far more than from the words they say. So in terms of leadership and ethics, being able to own the outcomes of all actions and being able to hold yourself accountable before everybody else holds you accountable. And so these are some of the dimensions of ethical leadership and integrity that people ought to aspire to. Because when a leader misses out on these, usually they don't last very long. And when they do, they're leading only a few people because the community will have disengaged with them in most cases. So an example is transparent allocation of community development funds, or generally in the use of communal resources, community-owned assets. So that's critical, and that's number 6 for us. Next slide, please. And so the next one is the ability of a leader to be adaptable, to be resilient, especially this day and age, where technology is on a rapid pace and things move so fast that by the time you settle on one, the next one is out. A lot of us, I think early last year, so many people 2 years ago or so were all talking about ChatGPT being the biggest thing that has happened in AI. Now ChatGPT is being seen as old hat. It's antiquity now. And so things like agentic AI have taken over, and so many other things, that technology is spewing out at us. And so resilience is nothing if you can't make yourself adaptable. And so it's the leader's job, I think, specifically, is the leader's responsibility to be aware of this, to understand how this affects the community in terms of the desired outcomes that the community aspires to. The leader ought to be able to ensure that the community itself is equipped to cope with this rapid transformational events going on around it. And so being able to envision a future as much as possible in this very rapid turnaround of events, and being able to position the community at all times, ensuring that it is like a sailor, making sure that it's aligned with the vision, regardless of the ebbing seas and waves, and so that is very important, and it's the ability of the leader as a person, as an individual, to be someone who has the skills, the competencies, the abilities, the knowledge to understand, first of all, that the world is in flux, it's rapidly changing, and understand what is driving the change, and therefore be able to predict to some extent, with some accuracy, it doesn't have to be perfect, but to be able to predict where the future may lie for the community that you lead. And so a leader who is not up to date with events going on, whether at local level or at national level or at global level, is actually no use to that community. So every community deserves a leader that can help it cope with the rapidly changing world in which it exists. So I think there's an example there that I gave, COVID. So many things were thrown at us in a short period of time. The world practically stopped being what it was, and human beings adapted, resorted to innate skills and competencies that helped us to cope. And a lot of us pulled through, and we're on this end. Next slide, please. So those are the 7 key skills. We'll just do a quick revision of them. So the question now is, in the process of building stronger communities, how does one, this is a shopping list. We've given you a shopping list now. So what do we do with them is the recipe. So how do we, use this recipe to prepare dinner? And this is where you have what we have here. These are some of the methods of developing leadership skills, such as we have identified up to now. Self-awareness it's the primary one. Self-awareness begins with assessing yourself, your strengths, perhaps against these skills that we've identified now. In a sort of bigger session that has more time, we have a lot of practical activities that I use in training, and we like to do some of these exercises, a lot of diagnostic activities, practical exercises, group exercises that will begin to give you an impression, your self-perception, an impression of what you look like in terms of, or how you rank against some of those key competencies identified. So self-awareness, things like SWOT analysis, personal SWOT analysis. I do that like every month. You can do a personal analysis, where you look at your organization or yourself even. You look at your organization, do a personal analysis every quarter. A personal analysis, I'm sure you all know. I hope you all know. I assume you all know. You look at political influences, environmental influences, economic influences, social, technological, legal influences that may affect your organization in different ways over the period. So that's the framework. So you use that. What it does is that it makes you conscious, keeps you aware of what is happening around you. If you remember, I think it was Professor Michael E. Porter of Harvard University, who gave, for me, my favorite definition of, or description actually, of strategy. He says that strategy is nothing other than what you do about what those around you do. Okay, what you do about what everyone around you is doing. So you can't have a successful strategy if you don't know who you are. You need to understand. So as a community, I think it's important to conduct those activities that will determine things like a baseline audit. Who and who are in the community? What strengths do we already have here? Where are the weaknesses? Where are the opportunities? Where are the threats? And so you do an audit of both yourself and your community to determine what's what and where. So that's your self-awareness. The other one is so that's something you can do on your own. The other one is formal leadership training programs, which is like attending structured leadership training programs that could be physical, that could be virtual, that could be hybrid. So a lot of those are going on, but making sure that you engage with it. They have all sorts of benefits in terms of networking benefits as well, because you learn more as adults from travel and from meeting and exchanging views with one another. Hands-on experience, this is a very important one. The opportunity to learn by doing. It has, various or a range of levels of efficacy in this, from your sitting by Nelly and also being able to undertake tasks on your own. So hands-on experience, very important. So seeking opportunities where you have placements, you have internships and job shadowing and things like that. So continuous reflection is something that I, from many, many years ago, picked up. And so this is about your own journey, reflecting on your own journey in terms of your professional practice, your personal life, and all of that. You could write it down. Some people record it. Some people do their vision boards every year, and you do that. So being responsible, that's the key. Being responsible for your own personal development is very important. A leader who doesn't care about their own personal development, to me, is a pretty dodgy leader. Coaching, mentoring, and peer learning. Coaching is one that has been in recent years completely. It has changed in terms of what we knew it to be. The definition of coaching that we had when I did my MBA years ago is not what happens now. One of the strong rules against in coaching in those days was that coaching, properly so-called, had to be one-on-one. Nowadays, you go online, you see people, everybody's a coach now, and then they're coaching thousands online, millions online, there's no interaction. So I don't know what to call that, but coaching they call it. But properly so-called, as I said, coaching is something that happens one-on-one, okay? And it's not about you teaching, not about you doing for the person, no. It's about you drawing on specific skills, enabling somebody else to discover for themselves. what they need to discover for their own growth. So you're not doing it for them, but you are guiding them, you're pointing that you're equipping them, enabling them, facilitating for them their own journey of self-discovery. So they, through your guidance, are able to find solutions, solve problems for themselves. That is empowering, and that's what proper coaching ought to be. The ones you see these days advertised everywhere, I'm not quite sure what to call them. Mentoring is slightly different, but along the same, this can occur in a group, not just one. And this is about really getting somebody to tap into your experience. Tap into your experience. And with regular support and feedback, that's the important thing there. In terms of peer learning, this is similar to what we're doing now, but also more informally, tends to occur more informally than formally. And you get this by traveling, by attending events, networks, but always conscious of the subliminal learning and communication that takes place from there and benefiting from it. But to have a structured approach to it is very important. And one is self-directed learning. Okay, this is quite empowering, but this tends to happen at a level. You get to a certain level and you already know exactly what your needs are by yourself. And you can, on your own, choose the specific approaches to development that you wish to have. Next slide, please. So in summary, effective community leadership is grounded in a diverse set of skills. We've gone through about 7 of those. We selected about 7 of those, aided by our AI. And these enable leaders to communicate clearly, collaborate meaningfully, act ethically, and respond to change in an adaptive way. And we also talked about cultivating communication, empathy, problem solving, vision and visioning. We underscored the importance of ethics and intelligence, and we also spoke about resilience. That we said that community leaders can mobilize collective action and create lasting positive impact if they're able to deploy their communication skills effectively. We also touched on the fact that when a leader is able to operate by not sort of assuming or making assumptions about other people or about the group, what they actually achieve is the benefit of helping others develop themselves. And so by developing these skills, we are saying that community leaders can foster inclusive, resilient, and empowered communities. And that is how you build stronger communities. And strengthening these competencies is essential for building inclusive, empowered, and sustainable communities. And these are some of the skills, competencies, and knowledge base that we believe will help you in leading communities with a sustainable and secure, stronger future. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I think we can have your questions now. Back to you.
Thank you, Kachi. Yeah, thank you so much. I think we could just give him a small clap. However you want to do it, there's the thumbs up is another way. Thank you so much. That was really, at some point I was feeling like this is a real A to Z, and I realized, wow, this is actually a longer topic than we've given you time for in a way. But thanks for sharing so many interesting experiences along the way. I think I should welcome a few people who weren't here at the start and who are here now. So good to have you with us. We've just lost a few people. I noticed we had 11 when we started and we were at 20 at some point. Now we're down to 16. I think we've got about probably 10, 15 minutes to have some discussion. So feel free to put your hand up if you have a question or comment. Also, you could write in the chat, whatever you prefer. So the floor is open. Let's start with Samuela. Feel free to introduce yourself at the start as well, if you wish. Samuela, thank you.
Thank you, John. My name is Samuela Amidi. I'm joining from Afghanistan. My question to the presenter, I couldn't see the name from CPT International, would be, I noticed a very interesting point on experience-based learning for community leaders. My question would be, how would you bring that into that learning environment? Is it based like do you engage in community development programs where the learners get hands-on, or do you like identify leaders and then work with them who are already embedded in those communities? Just how do you make them learn while solving problems? That would be my question. Thank you.
You want me to take that straight away, or are you going to have a few? Jessica, John? Should I take
Yeah, maybe if there's another question, maybe we could take one or two more. You could answer them together. It's a good idea. If there's another question. Okay, if not, maybe just go ahead.
Okay, very good question. I didn't get that from Afghanistan. You have a range of options, to you. I think it's always going to be determined by the needs presented. The important thing for the leader is to be aware of the toolbox full of options, full of tools, full of different approaches that you can use and you can deploy. And so your challenge would be, in that case, how to ensure that there's a fit and that you're deploying according to the fit. So, for example, if somebody has a need to improve their writing skills, how to write a bid, how to make a bid, how to write bids to funders or grant makers or stuff like that, I think you profit both the organization and yourself. I think it will be a more prudent use of resources to send that person to a bid writing course rather than to perhaps a travel management course or travel what do you call them, tour organizers course for the community. Okay, so it's the ability of, first of all, the ability to deploy the options correctly in a way that delivers the outcomes that you want in the most efficient way. Yeah, so that can't happen unless first you're aware of all the various tools in the box. So I think for the leader, the challenge is constantly updating your knowledge base, constantly knowing what. Not many people know that we're here. Not many people. When this started at first, because I know how big our group is in Nigeria, but it was just when Daniel was. It was I think Janine, Daniel, and a few others, and this was just going on. By the time we got to the fourth or third one, it was a full house, massive house, because people see the value. Okay, so you've got to constantly search out opportunities that you can use to build your group. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Kachi. Yeah, you have to keep on your toes, basically. That's an important reminder to all of us. Yeah. Okay. Somebody else got a comment or question? Anna Grace, welcome. Good to see you here. Please unmute, eh?
Yes. Hi. Good morning. Greetings, everyone from Tanzania here. My name is Ana Grace Mumbiza. I've been working in the community. Actually, my work is mostly in the community, doing participatory action research, community engagement using animation. And right now we are working with gender mainstreaming, gender safeguarding for women who are receiving compensation after sexual and gender-based violence. So I agree with the presenter that all the skills, all the traits of the leader to the community level are relevant unless and until when the political ideas are being intervening. I can give an example of we used the animation, and we wanted to present the outcome of the community engagement that we used. And actually we used the community animators to do the role play and drama and present what is going on in the community. The community leaders, because we all know the community leaders that are being selected with based on political affiliation. So they tend to use politics to hide and silence those who are trying to bring out the good quality, but also what the leaders are supposed to be doing. So we were actually most of the time scolded and forced out of the community until when they realized this is working for them. Actually, it is very important to them. That's when they called us back, and we have been working with them for them in collaboration with them till to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Grace. Yeah. Kachi, would you like
Yes.
to respond? Yeah.
Very important. That's what you call, I mean, in Nigeria, they say show working. That is show working that you did there. It's proof of concept. Okay? It's proof of concept. You were able to demonstrate that this works. Okay? And that's the whole point. That's the whole thing about pilot projects, using a pilot. It's part of risk management. What you're doing is to find a safe way for a managed incremental introduction of an idea or an innovation into the marketplace. And that's what you were able to achieve there. And chances are that having done it this way, those skeptics in high powers, in high places and all that, will now find that this is authentic, that this has merit. And so it will be difficult for them to now turn around and say, no, it didn't work or it's not working. So I think it was good that you stood your ground and you also used technology to bypass that barrier. That's the key for me, to bypass that barrier. Okay. And I think that's a very good practical case study to share in terms of one of the things I picked up. In those days, my wife in Wales ran a charity that did amazing work, that nobody believed was possible. Giving away donated used laptops and computers to families that couldn't afford any. And they had children living in that community where this is a world where everything is computerized, going digital. Kids couldn't do homework because families couldn't afford it. A very poor place. And so she came up with the idea of asking Toys R Us and another company to support the project and buy used computers, which they then gave. I was involved in designing the program, and we trained the parents on how. In 6 months, you want to see the testimonies that were already happening in the place. It curbed truancy. It kept the kids engaged. They weren't going out at to be a nuisance in the street and all of that before a very short period. But one local politician said to me, they're just going to flog it and use it to buy drugs, mate. They're just going to flog it and use it to buy drugs, mate. I was disgusted at that comment. Okay. But despite that, the project succeeded. It won a big award from the big lottery fund, a lot of money. The Welsh Assembly government got involved. Next thing I saw when we did the launch, which I organized myself, that politician was sitting in the front row, came up to me and said, "It's good to see that this is going well. It was good that we supported it at the beginning." And he picked up the microphone in his goodwill message, speaks about how they saw the vision and backed it. Complete lie. He was against it. So it's important to defy them sometimes. Don't have to be confrontational. I don't believe in that. Defy them if you believe in what you're doing and you just find an opportunity to demonstrate that it works. You see them come running and they'll bring the money. Personal experience.
And I'm sorry. When I talk about animation, it's not the one that is being used in the computers. I don't know how you call it when you get into the community, because you are outsider. You can't tell where the pain is. So
Yes.
we tend to get people. I mean, we call the community meeting, and then we tell them we need people that we'll be able to work with, and then if they want that you trust. So we come together and then we train them on the skills of listening, asking questions, and then working back to the community, because they are being trusted by the communities. They are being heard and listened to, and they know what is going on within the community. So they have a kind of truth during the discussion, and they know what is happening. Actually, it was very helpful in Malawi, where when I went there was lots of conflicts in the mining areas. So they come together and then they ask questions, and then we come and then we analyze. What we are doing is facilitating the analysis of the information that they are bringing, so that they can go back and send the feedback to the community by using several skills like drama, role play, drawings, storytelling, using the common ways of communicating, storytelling and everything. And then the community, they understand, actually they buy so they discuss the details and the truth of what is going on within the community, such that even the leaders, when they bring politics or their background ideas, sometimes they feel guilty. This is what happened to us, actually, using animators, community animators. They knew they couldn't, they could send us away, but also they couldn't deny that what is happening in the community. Thank you.
I think that's authentic, very authentic. Well done.
Thank you. I'm just reminded we're hearing examples from Wales, from Afghanistan, from Tanzania, and you mentioned Malawi as well. I'm just reminded of my own journey as a community development worker. One of my big learning was that the principles are basically the same wherever you are. The context maybe differs, people differ, of course, but those principles, that we've heard a lot about today as well, really serve you wherever you are, as long as you're true to those approaches. Thank you. Maybe one more comment or question. Janine, yeah?
Janine has a question.
Yes, thanks, Kachi. Thanks for a very informative presentation. I just wondered if you could comment on the tension between being a leader and being kind of out there in front, and also pushing leadership from the ground, because especially with the ABCD approach that we work on, it's not about me as the leader. It's not for me to be out there in the limelight and saying, look at how good I am, I'm leading this project. My aim is to build leaders from the ground up, so that even if I step back and I walk away, it's not going to crash in front of me. And people become the leaders themselves. And I think one of the skills that maybe the AI didn't help you with was the whole idea of humility. For us as leaders, it's actually, there's a tension there between wanting to guide and to motivate other people, but also being humble enough to say, this is not about me. This is your process. This is your community. These are your solutions. And how do you deal with that tension as a community leader?
Interesting, very interesting, Janine. And that's one of the things about ABCD, the little that I know about it. I've not been fully immersed. It's about building that empowering, almost like investing in leadership within the community, investing in that leadership. And so, what they say in business, that if it can't run without you, then you haven't built it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If it cannot run without you, you haven't built it.
Mm.
So that is for me the characterization of that tension that you speak about, and it's real. It's so true. But then again, also, I think it's more about. I think it speaks more to the leadership model, a leadership that from the beginning understands that it's not a permanent feature or fixture, if you like, in the role, in the community. So as part of its vision, it's already envisioning a day that the community will be without this leader. What would that be like? So it's about front-loading succession planning, if you like. In HR, that's how we look at it in HR. Front-loading succession planning. So right from the beginning, succession is envisaged. So that will then guide how the leader consciously, regularly thinks about that place, that day that will come when I will not be there. Will the project end? Will the community pack up and go because I've gone? Those are the challenges. That will be how I'll approach that tension. Yeah.
And I think for me, the thing is to be intentional and to be vocal about that from the start. So if you are coming to a community saying, I'm going to help you and guide you and go with you, but guys from, just know that this is not, don't look to me for that leadership. From the very beginning, be intentional about saying,
here's
you
another
guys
thing.
are your own leaders.
Here's another thing it does. This issue, this same principle, contaminates a lot of things, including funding strategies. Okay? It's one of the challenges we had, I remember in those days in Wales, it's about cutting that dependency. Funding tended to be all about project funding, project-based funding, not core funding. So organizations lived almost from hand to mouth based on projects, project to project. So an organization that has money from the big lottery fund, from the EU, from this place, from that place, for specific projects. There is no funding for the organization itself. And so when the 3-year project finishes there, that person is gone, the project leader is gone, the team is dissolved, and this other one goes, and this one. So it's about envisaging that this future will come so that is, I think, what it should really deliver for us, so that the dependency that can arise is then sort of obviated by planning with that in mind from the get-go.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the interesting questions and responses. I think, Jessica, I don't know if you're reading my mind or you're just a step ahead of me, maybe. Jessica just put a link to the International Standards for Community Development. There was a training session yesterday about them. I believe there'll be more in future.
Yes, there. Yeah.
I don't know, Jessica. Do you know when there's another one coming up? Or
there's nothing planned just yet, but I know that there will be more coming up. So we'll keep everyone posted on our website and events page on our website. So there are a few recordings as well. Sorry,
Kachi. I encourage people to constantly visit the IACD website. I do that by habit. Well, I mean, I've been a member over 20 years, I think. The practice, what is it now? The practice activities,
Practice Insights, the magazine.
Practice Insights and all that, yeah. It's something that everybody ought to have and share. When I do my training and everything, when I do training and all that, I usually have a session, if it's on community development. I have a session on IACD. where I get people to understand why, despite doing these things, just like John said, in your own location and your locality, the principles may be the same, but the local application must vary. Okay, and so IACD is like a kind of rallying point where you go to see where it all fits into, and I try to encourage them to do that and to join when they can.
Yeah, good reminder. Thank you. Yeah, there is a lot on that website. It's true. I think some people probably just know about the webinars that we do, but there's a lot more. Anyway, Jessica's also put a reminder about the Researchers Forum, which is later today. So it's in about 3.5 hours time, I think. That's a great forum, really, really worth, taking time to participate in that. So they'll be looking at some examples from the Traveller and Roma communities in Ireland. That's later today. Rogers, I'll come to you just now. I just want to share a couple of things for the upcoming sessions. Just sharing my screen. So you can see this was today's. We do these in the Africa region every month. Next month, March 11th, Stories of Change, working with women with disabilities on advocacy on their rights. You see my name there. I won't be presenting, actually. People from the organization Women Challenge to Challenge will be presenting. I'll be facilitating that. The following month, April the 8th, we've got another Students' Perspectives session where we've got, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 universities by the looks of it, from South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Botswana. That was a really good session last year, so that's going to be another interesting one. In May, community development as self-help, looking at water accessibility in a region in Kenya that's kind of has a lot of problems with drought, but this group has come up with some very interesting solutions to the situation there. In June, again, still in Kenya, but presented from Kenya, looking at linking sustainable development to key community development issues of our time. So I'm sure the discussion will be broader as well. I wanted to mention also there'll be a members meeting for members in the Africa region. We don't have a date yet, but that'll be coming up in the next couple of months, I believe. Jessica, any announcements from your side, maybe about the conference? Or I was going to ask you about the podcast session because that one got postponed as well.
Yeah, apologies for everyone who signed up for the podcast session. That had to be cancelled because the speaker was unwell. But that will be postponed to the 10th of March. But keep an eye on our website, and I'll make sure that a new registration link will go out to everyone that registered for that session yesterday. So yeah, that will be postponed or rescheduled. For the conference, we still have our early bird registration is open, has been extended to the 16th of March. So I encourage everyone to would like to come, and hopefully lots of you will come to sign up for that. I think I posted a link to that in the chat earlier. I'll just post it again just in case. So yeah, it's looking to be a really great gathering. Lots of different delegates from all over the world. So really looking forward to that. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you. Yeah, so that's some of the activities coming up. Rogers, let's come to you. I think you had a question or a comment just before we close. Rogers?
Thank you very much. I'm Rogers and I'm logging in from Cameroon. I want to thank the CTP International for the wonderful presentation. And I have this worry. I would love to pose this directly to him and maybe to everyone who is connected to see if we can maybe not in this session, but to think about it. My worry is what strategies have you found most effective for ensuring marginalized groups such as families or persons with disability are meaningfully included in community leadership structures? That's that. I would love if you can share your insight. Thank you.
It's a big question, huh? And we've only got 4 minutes, unfortunately. But I'm sure you can do your best, Kachi.
That's why I highlighted by saying we could maybe discuss this when next we meet, or when next there's yet another opportunity. I'm sorry I missed out on the question and answer sessions.
No problem. Can I just put two thoughts in your head while you go away about that? Number one, needs assessment.
Okay.
Needs assessment. Always. If you do a proper needs assessment, a needs audit in a structured way, that should give you, that should tell you what your client group really needs. Nowadays, it's easy to research them. Once you've done the needs assessment and you've seen what they have, just go on AI. Just go on AI and ask. I have people here who are experiencing barriers, either by disability. Disability could be language, could be being partially sighted, could be the blind community, could be all sorts of areas. There are so many areas that are learning disabilities. It doesn't just all have to be ambulatory or physical, but there could be learning disabilities. There could be disabilities arising from emotional situations, anxiety, post-trauma, all sorts. It's all there in your phone. All the answers are there. And it's free. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Great. Yeah, I think also, do exchange contacts, make use of this forum to connect with people beyond this. Yeah, so mine is to thank sorry, Jessica. Yeah.
Sorry, John. No, just to come in. Yeah, we've got actually have a webinar coming up. It will be put up soon on our website, hopefully today, on the 24th of February, and that is actually with Samula, who's here today, and he will be presenting on community development in Afghanistan. So that will be a really interesting session as well. So please keep an eye on our website. Should be hopefully posting it today with the registration link. So yeah, thanks Samula for hosting that. We're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Lots happening, there really is. So as Kachi said earlier, keep your eye on the website. There's always things coming up there. And those of us who are in WhatsApp groups, let's keep doing our best to share information, not just about the IACD activities, but all kinds of things beyond that. Maybe Janina, I was going to ask you if you could just close the session for us, and maybe you've got anything else you want to add, please do.
Thanks, John. Yeah, no, I just think it's wonderful to see how these webinars have grown over the years. It's amazing to think how many we've already done. And special thanks to people like Kachi and to Samula who are putting their hands up to do the presentations and to offer a topic. Anybody is welcome to send a message to Jessica or to John or to myself or Daniel to say, I'd like this topic to be dealt with. So please, there's no curriculum that you have to follow, or there's no criteria that you have to meet. If you have an idea or a topic or something you're passionate about, please share it. We are happy to have a variety of different topics. So thank you to everyone for participating today, and thank you, Kachi, for your words of wisdom and your good presentation. Jessica will put the recording and the thing up on our YouTube channel very soon. So yeah, and thanks so much to John for chairing this session so ably. Have a good day further, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody, and take care. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, John.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.